Hello friends, today I'm going to talk about HashSet. HashSet is a class, is part of the collections framework. HashSet implements the set interface. The main thing you need to understand about the HashSet is uh, of its uniqueness. So HashSet is very similar to the ArrayList. HashSet works just the way ArrayList works, which means it works just like the array. But only thing the different with the HashSet is that it implements the set interface, which means you cannot have more than one null values, as well as no duplicates are allowed. That's the main thing you need to understand on the set implementations, which means also the HashSet, which implements the set. Other thing about this HashSet is just like set does, that you the insertion orders are not preserved, which means the way you insert the elements into the HashSet it's not guaranteed that you're going to get the same way in the same sequence in return. So these are the key things that you could find the difference with the HashSet with ArrayList. You might get these questions a lot when you go into the interviews. So just be careful and don't make this try to get clear on yourself what actually HashSet does. As far as the daily usage, HashSet is also widely used as an ArrayList, just because it has a different feature of its uniqueness. There are so many instances that you want to use a HashSet instead of an ArrayList. So it depends on the type or scope of your coding. So just be careful what the HashSet does and understand why is it used for, right? So then it will help you moving further. Let's get this implemented into the code base so that you can have better understanding. I'm going to create a new class. It's called, I'm going to name this as a HashSet. So before we go further, so when you have a set is being implemented by the three different classes, right? So you have a HashSet, you have a linked HashSet, you have a tree set. Tree set also use the navigable set, which allows it to sort into the some extent. Just like linked HashSet also implements the what do you call a queue, so that lets it to preserve the insertion order, and then these are the things that you need to really understand. Other than that, this implements the set interfaces. So again, it has same way the main feature of a set implementation remains the same, so it does not go away. So which means you still need to have you still need to make sure the uniqueness is there, as well as only no more than one null values are allowed in all of these implementations. Okay, let's go further. So I'm going to create a new main method. Let's get this guy here. So I instantiated this this class into the main method. I'm going to call this method as my hash, right? So let's see, my hash set. I'm going to create a method here, public void my hash set. So here a couple things you need to know is you can just like the way you would implement the ArrayList, it works the same way as I said before. So let's go with the beginning, and then we'll go further how you can use the generics and get more advanced to make this more look beautiful and work the proper way that everybody uses these days. Okay, so I'm going to create some simple hashes. So let's go this HashSet okay, new HashSet. Okay, just the way you would implement. So now I instantiated this class HashSet. HashSet is a class. So h dot add, just the way you would add array in the array list. So I can give any value here because I haven't defined it to be, I haven't set the rule what values it could be, so I can put whatever I want here. H dot 0.02, right, anything. So I can do just this edge, and then let's print this out. So I get these values. So you see I have a double value, I have a string value, and the number. Or I can get this one, and then I can get the sizes of these hashes, right? So let's go through that. Okay, so to get the size of hash, I would use the size method. So h dot get size. There's no get, just size as the size. Now it's going to give me the size. I want to use this couple times above here, so just to make sure that you understand how the duplicate thing works. So I'm adding this, and then I am adding this, guys. So here, if you watch this closer, what I'm trying to demonstrate is I'm adding this 15 as an integer twice. Okay, so here at line 20 it is going to give me the size, which should be that this size plus this size, which is a 2, and I'm adding the same as a duplicate. And so if this would have allowed me the duplicate, this would give me the size at line 22 with 3. Okay, but it will give me 2. Let's see. Okay, size is 2 here, you see that. So what this means is it does not even add. If you are trying to add a duplicate into the set, it does not let you add at all. So that's the main thing you need to understand. So you might get cross questions on this. Does it add or does it not return the duplicate, right? So you might need to clear that too. So that's one thing. This one you can apply same thing with the string, or it has nothing to do with integer type, right? So anything you can do this, it is going to do the same thing. So 2 2, right? So no duplicates here. If you want to do this again, let's say I want to give a size. Now I want to print here, let's say sys out is a short key, just so you know. Let's say I want to print this h here, right, at line number 19, and I will only get this my value only once. If you see that, right, my value isn't printed twice. If I say moy, now it is printing me twice, so 2 values are there, so which means no duplicates are allowed. So I hope this has been pretty much clear that no duplicates are allowed into the set. How you would implement, you would simply add the values with dot add is the method, and you would pass what type of data it could be. But here's the issue. So if you see this as an output, I have number, decimal, string, all different types of data. And then the problem here is you cannot work with all different set of data as a trash can, right? So you want to basically organize your data and how you want to work that with. Since 1.5, Java implemented something called generics. Since then we are able to add more strict rules that what kind of data you can actually enter into the HashSet. So what kind of rules you want to set the HashSet to be. So before anybody wants to enter any values, it will validate that with the generics. Okay, and what is the generics? Generics is basically just angle bracket like this, and you are trying to basically give what type of data it could be. So it could be object of class, right? Or it could be any data type, and this would be primitive, sorry, non-primitive. Just the way that ArrayList works. So these things you need to pass into the generic so that it does those type of validations. So let's go with that. I'm going to remove this whole thing out. So if you want to do that, what you do is HashSet. And again, one more thing you want to know, this list interface, set interface. Set is the interface and the HashSet is a class, right? So but the purpose of having that interface is to actually hide the implementations and the way you want to actually utilize most of the stuffs that set has, right? So what you want to do is you want to, because HashSet is just overriding stuff, but you want to get all of the features. So the way you would instantiate your interface is totally little bit different because it is hiding the implementation. So how you do is you pass the set, right? Set as the interface, and then when I say generics, let's put the generic out there. So I'm going to put this set with a string. I'm going to pass the string values. This would be my hash equals new, right? New hash set, and then I'm going to pass string value, right? And then I'll have to close this with the parens. So here what it did is, and if I put this, let me just import this guy out, and if I put the mouse over here, it says java.util. You get that, and now you see the util.set, and HashSet has already been imported. So what this does is when you do this, instead of HashSet equals HashSet, because when you do with the HashSet, you are just instantiating the HashSet just to retrieve the methods the HashSet contains. However, the best practice is you want to utilize most of the feature that the set implementation contains. So what you do is you call from the interface and create an instance of that interface extending into the class. Then what happens is any method that has been overridden from those are part of this set is going to be called by this guy. So this guy can call whatever is overridden at HashSet, but if it is not, then it is going to call all of the methods that set contains, right? So you can utilize most of the stuff that from the set. So what I did is I did set, I created an object here as a variable, and then I have created a new hash set. So every time it is going to build a new hash set for me, right? So what I do now is I'm going to utilize most of the stuffs I have. So my h dot add, I'm going to add this value here. So jj, right? This is the string value, and next thing is my h dot add. I'm going to put some number here, right? Not the add all is going to add a list. I'm going to put the number, and you see it already aired out, and when you hover here it says it does not let me do it. So what this means is it is, see that method string is not the string type, so you cannot add with the int. So what you have to do with, you can do this to make this look like a number but the string, then it is okay, because now it does not read this as a number at all, right? So you can do just jack something, right? So let's just go with this, and one more thing, I can just add this guy again, right? And let's print this out. So moh, when I run this guy out, and look what it does, all it does is just prints me twice. It does not read anything duplicate at all. Same thing that I just showed before. But what this does is, only the thing different is you are actually calling from the interface, and next thing is you have the generics now used. Generics helps you put more strict rules so that you cannot enter anything else. And don't get confused, you only can use the data type. And one more thing with the non-primitive is anything that has a capital letter basically, right? So it has to go through those classes, and primitive data types are not the classes. So and non-primitive are the objects, right? They inherit the object class, so anything has to be object. So non-primitive are like something that are in the lowercase, so int, b, and boolean, float, all right, double, like that, something like this, right? Those you cannot. If you want to get something of this nature, then you would have to use the wrapper class, which are called like integer, something like this. So what you do is everything, so int is being represented with the integer. This is the wrapper class for this guy. Same thing to this, only thing different is the first word is a capital, and the rest is the same. But what this does is it creates an auto boxing feature that just does kind of wrapper, and that it will help you represent the data that are non-primitive in order to use into the collections or anywhere, right? Anywhere. So those are the key things that you need to understand on the set. And what other thing I want to tell you is that there's no guarantee on what order it is going to give you. So let's do this. Jackie, and then say Mackie, let's say Becky, right? And then let me print this out. So when I print this, so JJ Mackie is printing, right? So it is not printing Jack, and Jack goes all the way to the end. And if I read it again, so it says JJ Mackie Jackie, right? Mackie Jackie. So if I run it again, right? So it is just not doing the same thing, so it is not coming onto the same order. So these are the features that the set implementation has. And if you want to if you are somebody who's trying to utilize the set, and you want to know why set is used, then this is widely used when you are trying to write the Selenium codes into trying to figure out the WebDriver with finding the window handles, like getting lists of all of those unique handles, which means all of the different pop-up windows and so on. So that time set is very useful. Okay, and then this is basically the set implementations. I think that's all you should be able to know. And one more thing, let me just do a quick thing onto the classes, how you can use the objects, right? So let's say you have my ArrayList is a class, and you want to create a set with like this. So here's a set, and instead of string here, I'm going to put some objects, so which means I want to get my ArrayList, right? I want to create an object of my ArrayList instead of a string. Now and I need to change this object. So now if I even want to do this, now it does not let me do this, because it says, hey, this is not the object of this guy, right? So let's run this over. My HA, sorry, I was supposed to put this guy in. Now it does not let me do this because it's not the string, right? It is not the string, so it is instead it is the object. So it is looking for something that is coming from this class. So in order to use that, I'll have to first create this object of this class. Let's go to new my ArrayList, right? Then you can add this guy over here, ma list, right? So here you can now add this guy over. Now you can read this, right? And and let's run this over. And now you see, this is because this is an object, right? You cannot really read this. That's why you are seeing like this, because this is the object of this class. You cannot just print the object out. And I can just go through this really quick and show you how you can do this. So you can do toString here. So this is basically the MyHway is adding the list. So this guy is a myArrayList object. To do this, you cannot just print the object over. There are certain ways you can actually use this with the toString method, but then you have to override this, right? So how you override this? You can simply create one method inside this myArrayList, and you would say public string toString. So this is a method already from the object class, and you have to get this override annotation so that you are actually override, right? And then you do return, because it's a return type, and you can actually give anything, just whatever you want. There's nothing I don't have any constructor or any data that I want to actually provide, so I'll just give this as from mine or something, right? I'm just giving this string over. So now if I want to print this guy out, and then it will print me over. Let me run this again, and then you'll see the output. So you see that over. So I can add this again, right? So I can add this, but again, every time I want to let's comment this one out. I will use that later. So let me create this, but every time I added this 3 times, but this message isn't coming 3 times. But let me uncomment this and create 3 objects. I'll put this 2, 1, right? And then you see 1 and 2. And then this time if I run, you get 3 messages here. See that? So that's all about this. So if you want to use that as an object, basically you can use that with across the classes or any objects of that, or you want to use that with the data types. Certain data types you can use this way. The main thing again is you need to understand what the set does. Set is basically just a representation of similar entities, but only thing it has the extra rules that the ArrayList has is that its uniqueness, no null, only one null, and no duplicates, and there's no guarantee the insertion order is preserved the same way. Okay, these are the main thing you need to understand on the set implementation in terms of the HashSet. And then I hope this video has been very helpful for you to get better understanding how set works in terms of the collections. And I hope to see you again in my next video. And please also watch my ArrayList video in the collections overview video that explains more about different types of collections frameworks and its implementations, so that it helps you understand these videos to further know how they are applied to each other. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope to see you again, and please continue to watch my video and subscribe my channel.